2 winds, 2 directions, and 2 outcomes. And this week I was asked to pray for somebody who was in a sort of immediate crisis, and it was on Tuesday. And I thought, yeah, I'll pray, and then I'll get on with whatever I had to do that day. But as I came to pray for that situation, God just stopped me, and the Holy Spirit just took hold of me and said, no, there's 2 winds, there's 2 directions, and we need another outcome in this situation. So I want you to pray all day, Pauline, and I want you to command a contrary wind that's coming against this person and ministry to turn around, and to, instead of resisting them, to actually propel and to push them into the purposes and the plans and the promises that I've already outlined for them. And it's so interesting, in Matthew 14, there is a contrary wind resisting the disciples. The disciples were commanded to cross over to the other side. God had a plan and a purpose for them, and he told them what to do. But as soon as they got halfway across, going toward their destination and their destiny, this contrary wind came and resisted them, like, you're not going any further. Have you been asked by God to do something? Is there something on your heart you're praying for? You feel you've got halfway across, and the resistance is so great, you can't go any further. You feel like you can't turn back, you can't go forward. You're just stuck in the middle of the lake, and this contrary wind is in your face, and so much is in your face, saying you're not going to make it across, you're not going to get to where you want to be, you're not going to get your destiny, you're not going to get the answer to what you're praying for, your breakthrough. And this is Matthew 14. But God said, Pauline, there's a wind, a spiritual wind that the enemy uses, but there's a spiritual wind that I use, and it's in Exodus 14. So they're both in chapter 14, Matthew 14 and Exodus 14. And in Exodus 14, when the Israelites and Moses was in the same position, they couldn't go back, they couldn't go forward, they were caught halfway in their destination, halfway in the middle of the promises of God. God sent a strong wind, and it propelled them, and it pushed back the Red Sea, and it pushed back that which was in front of them, intimidating, saying they couldn't go any further, that this wasn't going to work. And this strong wind made a way for them. You've got to know that for every wind that comes against you, there is a God wind that will come for you. And we have to, though, with our own mouth, declare it. We have to accelerate it. We have to cooperate with God with our mouth to bring about the purposes of God. There is a wind that's blowing for you today that's going to suddenly, God said, this ministry is suddenly going to come into that which I promised, because my wind will propel them into the suddenlies. The disciples went from not being able to move on the lake to suddenly being where they should be. There's a suddenly for you. Suddenly the house will come up. Suddenly your relationship will turn around. Suddenly your finance will turn around. There is a suddenly for you, because the wind of God always blows for us and not against us. But we have to cooperate with God, and we have to speak to these winds, that we have the authority. God gave the authority to you and me to speak to the wind and waves, and they will obey us. So that was really interesting, and that was exciting enough. But the following day, God gave the same prophetic word to one of our prayer partners on City Lights. And she sent it into City Lights to Luke. And Luke knew that God had given this word to me, and he gave me this word, and I'm going to share it with you. She's given us permission to share it. It's such an exciting confirmation of what God's doing and wanting to do in your life, not just ours, not just in the people we're praying for, but in your life today. You have to heed this word about the wind, and I'm going to read it to you. As I sought God this very windy morning on Thursday, it's Thursday the 11th of March, I heard the Spirit of the Lord say, observe the winds, my child. Can you predict the direction of the next gust of wind? Again, it's winds, direction, and outcomes. And she said, can you predict the direction of the next gust of wind? I am the God that the winds and the waves obey. From the gust of my breath, the winds are sent forth to the earth. I blow and darkness is uncovered. I breathe and the wealth of the wicked is transferred to the righteous. The world says it's windy today, let's stay inside. But I say, no, my children, step out into the wind. Speak the things of change into the gales, and your words will be carried by its momentum and bring about change. What do you want to see fulfilled? Speak out, step out, and speak those things that are not as though they were. To many this seems foolish, but I use the foolish things of this world to confuse the wise. Yes, I am your God. Heed my instruction, for my sheep hear my voice, and they follow my commands. Well, I hope you're encouraged. That word was such an exact confirmation of the word that God had given me 2 days before, and that I had been praying already. So I had prayed it for another ministry and another minister, but I'm going to pray it for you today, and I'm going to pray it for me today, and I'm going to speak to those winds and the waves that are coming against us and are coming against you, and I'm going to speak to the intimidation and the resistance and that contrary wind, and I'm going to say, and I'm going to command it to turn around and become the wind of God that propels you and myself and City Lights into the very purposes of God. I command those winds of change. I command the wind to change that's set against you, your family, your finances, your health and mine. And I command a change today and a turnaround. And I command the wind of God to blow, winds of blessing, winds of prosperity, winds of healing, winds of restoration and renewal to blow upon you, your family, your finances, your health, your church, and the church throughout the world. And we command the wind of God to blow blessing over us today. Be blessed. You go, you speak to the winds that are coming against you, that resistance that's been in your face for so long, and command a turnaround. And we're praying with you, and we'll see it together. We will see winds of change in this season. Thank you so much, Fiona, for submitting that. Thank you. That was such a blessing to us. And if you feel God's put something on your heart, we get many words in the week, but if it confirms what we believe God is saying for the church on a larger body on a Sunday, we'll share it. So bless you.